Hello and welcome to yet another interesting panel discussion on D2, powered by digital, driven by data, a joint initiative of MedicinMan with Dockier. And today we will be discussing on the poll that was published on LinkedIn to understand what next generation capabilities must the field force have to stay relevant. This question was asked in the background that the role of field force is still considered very important and this is likely to continue in the foreseeable future. Instead of refuting that, can we focus on building next generation capabilities for the field force? And to answer these questions on our discussion today, we have a very illustrious panel of Satya Mahesh, Archis Joshi, and Mehul Shukla. So let me quickly introduce the panel members before we go on to the discussions. Archis is a versatile pharma professional, having spent time both with the multinational and Indian companies. And you can listen to his incisive comments in today's discussion. And next, we have Mehul Shukla, who has also spent time with a variety of companies, including currently as Director Marketing Excellence at Cipla Digital Health. Mehul also brings in very incisive insights that will help you to make sense of how we should go ahead in equipping and upskilling the field force for the future. And then, of course, we have Satya Mahesh, a very familiar face in all of MedicinMan panel discussion, very passionate about field force people, and he shares his insights and on his experiences in adopting digital. So good evening and welcome to MedicinMan, yet another session for D2, which we are doing along with Dockier. So thank you so much, Mehul, Satya, and Archis, for taking your precious time, especially during this holiday season, and participating in this discussion. So first question is to you, Archis. COVID gave a much needed opportunity to pharma to rethink its commercial strategy. What key issues did pharma companies address to create better value for customers, especially with regard to the field force?
Yeah. So, there were a lot of changes. I think everybody observed these changes, but I would like to, bucket these changes, because once you start bucketing these changes, as per the ladder in which they think about this thing, you will come to know the changes are constant and there is a pattern or there is a sync between these changes happening across these buckets. So let me tell you, from a business leader point of view, correct, the first change that happened is that the pharma started looking at the bottom lines very carefully, because that became a survival game for them. Second important thing is the complete re-looking at the portfolios and the rationalizations. I think post pandemic you must have seen there is a clear surge with respect to winding up the tail ends, correct, as well as lot of new in licensings, as well as lot of new taking over of the portfolios happening. So I think at leadership level, these are the things pandemic compelled us to think and accelerate. When I look at marketing point of view, I think we were orienting people, but the inertia was there. This pandemic washed out that inertia of marketing for adopting, because at the end of the day, field will do everything which marketing suggests. But the inertia of marketing was gone because of this particular pandemic. I am able to see a set of new tools developed by marketing, not only for HCP Connect, but more for the measuring impacts and the effectiveness. So the execution machinery of marketing, which was more perception driven or more a verbal feedback driven, I think that has changed, undergone change because of the pandemic. And when I come to field force, I think which is the main question for this. See, last 3 years, I have been handling teams which are more than 400, 450 people. So I can tell you, the ground experiences on this more realistically. See, I see the science in pharma promotion is now getting hijacked by the HCP associations. And now the science is coming with respect to sales management. The sales management process, which is happening down under a regional manager or a zonal manager, that has adopted a science post pandemic very significantly. The science in that is that, now the managers are talking the language of, how much time spent on one particular product, what is the detailing time on that product. There are 10 different dashboards today available with any good company, for the regional manager. The reviews which used to happen a one time affair, now the tools are available with him where his own fieldwork at that particular point of time can give him opportunity to review that particular person over there. So what I'm feeling is that, the kind of tools and the change in orientation of the field managers particularly which has happened, that is helping lot of transformations happening in at least a class of pharma companies. So I think post pandemic I am able to see, the field understanding, orienting, accepting and preparing themselves, for their sustainability with right companies. The managers are able to, with dashboards, able to put forward their thoughts review process in more organized way and treating science, sales management as a science, marketing oriented well, and tremendous changes at leadership. I mean, today for me my continuous thought process, my continuous pressure is in bottom line. So I think all these things falling in sync, and probably pandemic compelled us. Probably otherwise would have run into a normal, routine thing. So this is what I feel, are the major changes which happened because of this pandemic at various layers.
Great. That's wonderful to hear that from you, that, pandemic has been a positive impact, although it was painful to start with. And you bucketed it very nicely as to what are the changes on the leadership and how marketing has been compelled to take their jobs a little bit more interesting way. And more importantly, the field force also now at the regional manager, sales management science, and science is also coming back. And that the entry level people are now looking at companies like, especially the A-class companies like the ones that you represent, from the perspective of how well digitalized this company is and what are my career prospect with this company. And I think that is the key driver when individuals, professionals begin to recognize that in the long run, I will just not be moving forward in my career if I continue with what business as usual, but I need to respond to the challenges and changes brought in by the COVID, and using digital is a very essential way in this way forward. So Satya, you have seen that in the MedicinMan poll, there was a very interesting split between multiple channels for outreach, which got ranked number one, and full view of customer need coming the next one. That shows that our orientation of the field force also is changing, because a large number of the people who polled in this are both from sales and marketing. So these two are recognized as the top future ready skills that the field force must develop. The ability to use multiple channels for outreach and have a greater view of customers' needs. Any examples from your experience about how the industry is doing this or should be doing this?
Thanks a lot. I think, first of all, let me say that all the four options which were given in that were the best options which are there. But of course, people had to select one which is the most preferred one. So, I'm sure you also have seen over, as I was following up with this, the competition was always on the full view of the customer needs as well as the multiple channels, which also means that, a large number of field force who have responded to this are actually respecting that these two. But when it comes to, the implementation, or rather the use of these things in this thing, I believe that we are already there implementing some of these things. Like, virtually every good organization has understood the need to understand the customer very well, because even if you have to decide about the preferred channel that the customer wants you to reach with, or if the call has to be good, then you need to definitely know the customer, and the content definitely should be personalized. And that's what we all have been talking, that speak something that is relevant to the customer rather than I mean, what you wanted to talk. I think that relevance has been understood by pharma very well. And I mean, quite a good amount of effort has been done by a large number of companies in terms of the deciding the multi-channel ones. Of course, not that every company had actually touched on all these, but everybody had done a bit of trial and error during the pandemic, and everyone understood that this is the preferred channel for the doctor, this is the best channel for that. So everybody had tried, and now people have understood what are those right channels for that doctor. I think that's the understanding which companies have got. And the second one, which is most important one, which has come as a second one, is like, understanding needs of the customers. I think a large number of companies may not be at a customer level they might have got, but for a specific brand, depending on the marketing managers, have done quite a bit of work on their beliefs, behaviors, and the outcomes, as well as the doctor's digital coefficient. All those things, I think the marketing heads have started actually looking into that. So now virtually every company has got a good database of the doctor's needs. As the marketing and the brand managers started using this data, they started realizing that the targeted messages are giving them much better outcomes. It's actually happening. And I mean, we are not there, but I'm sure I have seen large number of those brand managers genuinely trying to offer what is their doctors believe, what is that we wanted to actually make the doctor believe, and what is the kind of communication that needs to be given. Even the emails, initially everybody tried with mass emails, but then later on, when approved emails have come, the emails which are going to the doctor over a period of time, that we have learned that send it only that is relevant, send that is where the doctor had shown interest. In large number of companies, personalized messages are going, doctors' personas are being understood, and to a great extent, segmentation and targeting has also been working. And once you know doctor's preference for the knowledge or a skill which needs to be actually be showcased to the doctor, I think the call is bound to be very, very effective. One place where pharma still needs to understand how to churn the data that you have already got. We are good at capturing data. The only thing that we need to possibly understand is how to clean the data a bit more, and then how to use it within the next 1 or 2 months, or within that 1 week or 10 days, which should become a communication which is with a personalized message. I think we all have learned, but there is a long way to go. Slowly, steadily, but definitely there is a growth. There is a progress.
Great. I agree with you that in pharma, it is not possible to bring in sudden changes because it's like an oil tanker. And you can't change the direction of an oil tanker overnight. So, but it's good to know that these changes are happening. I'm especially glad to hear from you that this is leading to the empowerment of the field force, and that the information that they capture about the doctors is now being considered important and coming to the head office, to the marketing. And as you rightly said, so much of data needs to be cleaned up. Sometimes they're not updated at all, even the personal details. But I think capturing the persona of the doctor, as you mentioned, is very essential to give him the right channel that he would like to use, and as well as personalizing the content. I remember having a discussion a year back with the doctor as to, now that everything is available on the net for you, what really is it that you're looking for that pharma could help you. So he said, look, Anup, I'm an interventional cardiologist, but I also treat a small set of heart failure patients of a particular segment. So if some company is willing to give that data to me, I would be delighted to interact with them, their rep or anybody. But if they dump the whole lot of heart failure, content that is available, then I will not be interested. So just like you said, Satya, the mass mailing is over, but you will have to understand what specific segments of patient is this doctor looking at, is he treating, and therefore, it's not my product, but it is his information needs in relationship to better managing his patients, the information that I can give him through my field force or through the multi-channels, because at that time, the rep may not have the information, but once he captures the need, then I think, it's easy to choose the right channel and personalize the context. Thank you, Satya, for those inputs. Mehul, in the same poll, 4 important themes emerged. I would like to hear your comments on all the 4 themes. And also, do you think these are the most important ones, or in your opinion, are there others as well that would help us to improve the physician engagement?
Thank you, Anupam. I think when I look at the themes, I look at it in a very different way, and I do not would want to mirror what already Satya and Archis and you have said. So let me give you a very different angle on the whole thing. When I analyze the whole, genesis of how the pharma industry has been interacting with the doctors, 2 3 things come out. We always wanted to get them interested and engaged, and therefore, there would be an effective brand building and a brand recommendation that would happen. If I look at a funnel, the funnel consists of right from awareness, interest, consideration, and therefore a recommendation or a purchase. And that's where the fundamental difference is lying in what I want to say. We still have brands, and most of our brands, for most of our customers, we are still at the level of creating interest, if not awareness. Consideration is later. And consideration is when you actually sit down, and if I look at a salesman, let me just zoom out and tell you what will happen in the car industry. So car industry would go through 2 processes where, oh, I want a car, I've looked at the brands, and now I am I'm aware, I am intent now to purchase, and therefore I go and engage the salesperson and understand more about it. If the salesperson tomorrow has to come and just tell me about buying a car when I'm not even in the purchase funnel, I think there would be a disconnect. And I would believe that at that point of time, I would say, why are you telling me all of this? And I think that's where the fundamental 2 top parts of the funnel need to be zoomed into by us. As a brand, as an organization, we need to look at things which are coming out in the 2 top funnels. Where are we? With this respective doctor, have I reached the consideration set? Am I still in the awareness? I'm still getting interest generated. And if I'm still there, I need to keep hammering till I reach that spot. And that's how I would use not only my sales force, but that's when the intertwining of the digital would actually play out very beautifully. Because these are the 2 funnels where we can play out, and it goes into the 3rd one, which is including engagement and consideration. I hope that provokes a little more debate in this conversation that we are having. And the debate will be that, okay, you mean to say that when my rep goes, he has to still create awareness of a brand which is 50-year-old, but I would say that the doctor is not yet prescribing. So then he might be still in the awareness or interest stage. And then the whole conversation changes. It does not go to saying, hey, sir, here is a clinical article. It will not go to saying, hey, sir, I want to engage you in a medical conversation. It will still be very different. So I would like to throw that back at all of you and wait for your responses.
No, I think it is very interesting. And I can say, this type of little differential approach when we tried, and at time we tried together, I think it has worked, that thing. So it helps me to develop my conviction in what you said in that. And that, so I completely align. But only thing is that what happens is, from business point of view, it is the business which needs to show this appetite first, to, I think, if business starts showing this appetite, most of the time, the uh, uh, we want to very forcefully stereotype ourselves. I think that if we are able to overcome, I think that will really help us in that.
Yeah, Archis. In fact, digitally, if you look at the funnel and they are all very well laid out, you can actually, say how the people are moving through the funnel. Imagine that happening at our medical rep level, where if we can demonstrate the movement of a doctor through the rep from the funnel of awareness to interest to consideration. If we can demonstrate that, then the business will buy. A commercial head like you will say, yes, you have demonstrated this, go ahead, because I know the process will get completed and the outcome will be a recommendation or a purchase. So I think you're right. There has to be a conviction. There has to be someone who puts that foot forward and says, yeah, let's do it and let's see. But I think time is coming. As they say, winter is coming. The time is coming.
See, if you ask me, uh, they get they the problem is that at times they may not be getting directions. But if you ask me, I see a lot of willingness by this coming youngsters to adopt this. Means they, if given this choice in their hand in a structured way, they will be the first people to adopt it.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you completely. It will change the narration also. It will change your interaction with the field also, especially where you do not have a recommendation yet from a doctors. And as we all know that all our brands, maximum, I think maximum the biggest brands will have maybe a 60%, 70% recommendation going from all the doctors they meet. And rest of the brands don't even have that. That means there are a lot of our customers and doctors waiting out there who still are in the interest and awareness stage. And we need to work on this digitally and with our reps.
Great. I think that's wonderful. We need to be thought-provoking. Otherwise, it'll become like the same taking the visual aid out and the doctor kinds of tune out. That's a signal for him to tune out. So unless that we are provocative, so it's good that you raise these points, Mehul. I really appreciate your bringing that, connecting whether it is digital or face to face. One has to be aware of the sales funnel and where is the physician that this particular individual physician is, and therefore then what content do I use and how do I personalize the call.
One more thing, very interesting
Yes.
what you just said.
Yeah.
And if I just want to pick on that and just highlight one part of it, what you just said, the field is actually able to tell us where the doctor is in the funnel.
Correct.
And we are trying to apply AI and other things to understand that funnel digitally. Come on, I mean, it's already there. The point is, how do I harness that where the doctor is in the funnel for us through our field force, and then give it played back to him that then therefore this is what you need to do. Ashish also put that the field is ready, and he's right. The field has the resident knowledge. He knows exactly where they are in funnel, and we want to apply AI. So I think that's where the whole thing is.
So yes, I think we should apply or at least pay due diligence to the intelligence that comes from the field, and then use it to see how we can tweak the content and the channel to personalize it, and therefore be able to catch the attention. And therefore he says that, oh, they have taken cognizance of what my challenges were there and they have addressed it, and therefore the engagement becomes meaningful. So Satya, here's a question to you. We are quite convinced on the longevity of the field force. Our field colleagues will, for the foreseeable future, continue to lead and own the customer relationship. However, if their approach must change from sales-oriented one to a relationship-oriented one, a very important change in organization behavior for the future is for every department in the company to view itself as supporting the owner of the customer relationship, that is the medical rep and his managers. What do you think about this?
To me, it's pretty simple. I mean, maybe I might sound little uh, old, but the relationship is always the number one. It is how the people get the perception that you have become sales oriented and all that. Everyone in the field knows that if you sell yourself first, then your product will automatically sell. Everyone in the field knows. I mean, sometimes we get carried away that we are possibly a little more sales oriented. I think that's one which I wanted to mention in the beginning itself. But to get the kind of relationship that you need, all relationships, I'm sure you all agree, depend on the kind of value exchange and how much you value that. I think this is very, very clear for the relationships to actually catch up and translate into the kind of outcomes which are there. And everybody knows that the being purely in business sense it just doesn't work. If you are genuine in your approach, and if your conversations are in actually trying to help him with the way that with the armamentarium that you have got, and brand is also there as a part of it, I'm sure it translates into wonderful sales. It's only a matter of time such good work and such good relationships actually translate into this thing. Now, all that is required is a bit of patience that is required. But I remember that to generate all those things, I always used to say you need to ask for it, which is attitude, skill, and knowledge. But I remember one more thing that you have added is the cash. I mean, knowledge, attitude, skill, as well as the habits. I think they are the ones which, I mean, I mean, we may say, talk about AI, you may talk about ML, you may talk about the next best action. But in my personal opinion, that it is always these four which have really, really worked for the. And, if at all we have to actually achieve that, I think every department should actually help the people gain these four critical skills, and also that the medical representative should practice this. The fundamental difference that I believe that the rest of the departments in an organization should feel is that everybody is working for the customer delight. Possibly my work of my department possibly helps the medical representative, but the ultimate goal is customer delight. If all departments start thinking like that, then I think we would be creating a kind of wonderful new organization, which means that the senior leadership actually should take up that as a challenge, and build a kind of trust all across the organization, that the medical reps are the kind of communications which happen between the doctor and the medical representative. The relationship is the utmost important. Rest all are there to support, which means that everybody should recognize and realize that they are a part of creating an overarching image for the organization, which finally translates into better sales and better profits. Sense of urgency, sense of responsibility is to be felt. And I mean, it is not we, it is the customer who needs to feel that. And if you have made that customer, then possibly you do not need these contracts, possibly you do not need these agreements, possibly you go much beyond that. And I'm sure that there are companies which are doing very well with such genuine approach towards the customers.
Great. Good to hear that, Satya, that you still remember cash equals cash. Something that I coined more than 10 years ago. So Archis, as a business leader, you play a critical role in orienting the organization towards supporting your field colleagues. Can you talk about some of the challenges or examples in the industry or that you have and done this successfully?
Yeah. So This is actually, this question has a lot of importance because I consider this, is going to be the next big change. See, today we are talking about change A after the pandemic, right? Now, let us consider in this change A, we are adding the components of the government policies, right? The changes in the laws and the policies which are happening. Now the post-pandemic changes A and policy changes which are happening now, they are going to lead to something else, and that is going to be the change C, which we are going to talk today. And this is a very important aspect of this. Now, there are three components, which play an important role. One is the field force, second is the HCP, and between behavior change of the HCP through this field force, there is a component of strategies as well as the tactics which are there. Now, post-pandemic as well as the post recommendations in the changes in the policies by government, the middle part, that is your strategies and tactics, is going to get standardized or uniform. Because of this, the operating options or the freedom of most of the pharma companies is going to get limited, or it is going to get completely overlapped with each other. So to bring out that change which HCP behavior required, the part A of the field force hence is going to play a very important role. So when I look at, how the organization has to support, for field force to come up to this, the first thing for me comes is that, I think maybe 2 years down the line when we are talking, we will see the components of PNL changed, right? We may see a component added into the PNL apart from your GC, apart from your operational expenditure, apart from your direct marketing spend, and finally you come to bottom line or marketing contribution or net profit or whatever language that every company talks into that. There will be a component that will be called as, field force excellence in that, because see, now we are in the very initial days of policy changes. This is going to intensify, and this will revalidate importance of a very capable field force available with you. So the race between the two companies will be between, for example, if my organization is having 1,000 capable people today versus organization X having 1,200, the leadership will be decided by that and not predominantly by strategies or tactics where the government will compel us to standardize everything in one particular format. There won't be any escapes, for anybody in that. So I see, organizations bringing this conscious change as a part of their PNL to, start building capability and skills with the people over there. And second thing, if I have to purely talk from my window, see, the effectiveness of field force can go multifolds if there is a change either in structure or in mindset of the supporting functions which are there, because a lot of these are the places where bottlenecks are there. See, wherever I felt there is a in totality either a first option or there is a partial representation of a salesperson or a business person into the support teams. Now, best example is Satya in that, correct? So he has come from as a medical rep level into that. So if we have a representation connected to business in the support function, the agility level is different. The practicality, agility of these things are different, and this acceleration helps field force. Like moment field force get results, they don't require any other help. They get enabled by the results. They get enabled. The biggest kick for them, success for them is this in that. So two levels. Organization needs to first bring the mindset of building capability as a part of PNL, and second thing is that the orientation or structure of support function with a partnership of the business teams increasing into that. I think at these two levels there is a possibility of transformational changes happening into the effectiveness of field force.
Great. It's good to hear that there's going to be transformative changes, and I think it is very essential because in many ways we have reached a point where we have been finding it challenging to attract good talent, improve the talent, and I think the changes that the pandemic has made us aware of, and the new tools that are coming. With which, by the way, the younger generation, the kids who are passing out of colleges are very conversant and very comfortable, and therefore they will be more interested in using these tools or getting an opportunity to use these tools. So, Mehul, as an experienced commercial excellence leader, it would be great if you could share your thoughts on how you see pharma sales in a generic market such as India evolve in the future.
I think they're going to evolve in a very different manner. The younger generation is so well tuned with dealing with various aspects of digital technology. And that digital technology is where today even our doctors are accessing. It's the merging of where the doctors access and where we can go where they are is where the play is going to happen in future. So it's not just going to be engagement per se physically. It will be through our pharma reps engagement on different kind of forums and platforms. Today, when I go with my field force sometimes and I ask them, and I normally have been asking this question since years now. First, I used to ask, what kind of mobile phone do you possess and do you have? And they would show me, and I would say, why are you using this kind of mobile phone and why not this kind of mobile phone? Nowadays, when I go, I always ask them, what are the apps that you have on your mobile phone? And when they show that to me, I say that, what do you think are the apps that the doctor has on his mobile phone? And where are the overlaps? And which one do you think is so important for the doctor, which you may not be having? And that's when the penny starts dropping to some of them, and some of them already have it. And that's fantastic, because then I know what my doctor is trying to read, what he's trying to do. Facebook and LinkedIn and all are I think passe. Everyone has it. But is Medscape there with you? Are there other places which the doctors are having? Are they there with you? Because if you do not know what your customer is doing, my God, then you do not know your customer at all. So I think that's where it will go, Anup. That's where I foresee the whole journey, and the youth that's coming into the pharma industry, especially as frontline, is going to really impact us really well. I consider myself a dinosaur when it comes to Instagram, and I can see the difference already. And doctors are youth too. There are young doctors coming out too. Now you can see the connect. So it will have to be an overlap of interest. We will have to cultivate where they are present. Are we present? I remember CEOs cracking deals with some other companies on golf courses I've read about in stories. Where is the digital golf course? The pharma industry. And I think we need to figure that out. So
great. Wonderful to hear those points, Mehul, always coming from the field level interaction, the insights that you get as to what phones they're using and what apps they have and what apps are there on their doctor's apps. That's a very interesting perspective you have given. I think we need to have those more insights. I'm on Twitter, very active, and there are over a lakh of doctors on Twitter, and about 10,000 of them follow me, and it's marvelous to see. And I wish that many pharma senior executives would just be on Twitter, half an hour, 1 hour as they're listening. And if they follow a couple of these doctors, the MedTwitter and MedEd are two hashtags that are global now. So, there are times that an Indian doctor posts an actual case study, and this is a challenge I'm facing with the video or an X-ray or a CT scan, and he gets inputs from doctors all over the world, and it's fantastic to see the kind of interactions they are having. So I think we need to be to know the customer. I think you should be where the customer, as you said rightly, Mehul, and also know what he is doing. So wonderful having these thoughts from you, and this will be very stimulating as we continue this D2 journey along with Dr. Salil, if you have any closing remarks, that will be Great to have your thoughts as we close this session.
Well, no, so I was, it's been a fascinating discussion. I've been listening very with a lot of interest to what Archis and Satya and Mehul said. I like each of their approach to the topic. I think there have been very clear action points that all three have been able to bring out. I think there is a very good amount of progress that is happening in the pharma industry in India. As far as genericization and competitive clutter is concerned, India is a different market, and so the Indian way of commercial excellence cannot mirror that of what we read in Fierce Pharma or in any other American report. So I think, from that perspective, the idea was to bring this out to highlight what would be, how can the Indian field force develop in a way which is definitely going to be different from the ones that global multinational companies are thinking about. And I think there have been lots of points and lots of food for thought. And what I am hoping for is that this video and the blog article and the other things that we've put out create a lot of conversation within the industry colleagues, because it's not so much about us telling everybody what to do, but it's more about hearing their pain points, their experiences, and I think the value comes in the cross pollination. So we look forward to that. And so thank you, Anup, for moderating this very smoothly, and thank you, Mehul, Archis, and Satya, for joining in. Your thoughts are very valuable, and we welcome them as always on MedicinMan.
Thank you.
Thank you all. I hope to keep
Thank
in
you.
touch with all of you and hear your thoughts now and then. We post on LinkedIn or other places to get your inputs on them. Thank you very much. Have a great time.